I just think, the choice of having DeFi and pure DeFi products is the way forward. I think that, there'll be more disappointments with TradeFi than there will be with DeFi.
This is the Mooncast.
Are you in England still?
I'm still in the UK, yeah.
Yeah. I'm in London now, man, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't like it at all. It's just not what I would say is my style or my type of, I guess, like the country to kind of live in. I don't know. The weather is just not great. The people are a bit grumpy. What I noticed, and I just wasn't kind of I was kind of like thrown off, because the marketing was like pretty strong about like how London, I guess, used to be, versus kind of how it is now. And the streets are really dirty, man. Like, I don't know.
Whereabouts are you?
I am in close to Hackney. Is Hackney Wick? You know Hackney Wick?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at currently right now. I'm around that area in Hackney Wick. And so my project just got a bit of investment from Block Dojo. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but yeah, so they're in incubation, and also they help with venture capital funding too as well. And so part of the agreement was that I had to come to London and help basically learn everything that I needed to learn in regards to making sure and stress testing the project to make sure everything is good, meet with investors, get access to their resources, and try to get the next round of funding for the project. So currently right now I'm building like a B2B blockchain logistics solution for documentation and storage. And we've already gotten clients to use our product. So we're going more so on the business aspect of leveraging blockchain as part of the immutable distributed ledger portion of it. And so basically there's the issues that basically happening in regards to documents being sent back and forth and the communication taking too long between customs, to get from one end to the final end destination from the documents. And so we decided to streamline that process by building out a software where everyone can communicate and push the documents on our software. So instead of a horizontal sort of integration, everyone from each sort of verification body just uses our platform to streamline all the documents and download the documents onto our platform. And then we link them then to transaction hash on chain so that they're immutable. And part of the thing that we want to add to as well is because we've been requested from one of our partners, which is the biggest logistics company in Romania, Elvada. And basically what they want is for us to be able to streamline the data that they're getting from the PDFs into like basically what they want for the inputs and outputs for that actual specific data they want for the PDFs. So it makes it easier so they don't have to do it manually for what they need from the PDFs. So we're going to use artificial intelligence eventually. It's like going to be part of our roadmap, but there's a little bit of like what I'm working on now. It's been exhausting. It's been a cultural shock here being in London. It's my 17th country, but
London's pretty busy, and it's a big area. A lot depends which borough you're in, right? So, maybe get out of London a little bit, see a bit of some other parts of England, because that's a capital city, and it's like all capital cities. Some parts can be pretty dingy, especially this time of year where it's wet and cold, and summer is totally different. And there is some great areas in London. Get up around Camden Lock or something like that. Have you tried that? Have you been up there? On a Sunday, it's great. Camden Lock, you'd get a good day out in Camden.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll check it out whenever I have time. It's just been really busy because I'm basically running two separate companies. Luckily, with Fast Track, we have a entire team, but Moonboy is more consulting and dealing with clients. So it's been a bit of a struggle. I'm not gonna lie to you, JC, man. But it's part of being a builder. In this space, contributor, trying to, contribute the best way that I possibly can for this space and leave my mark. Did you said you saw my video. How did that come about? How did you get the chance to see my mint layer video? That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, I was looking into Mintware because the UTXO model that they're using for smart contracts. There's a noticeable number of chains now using the UTXO model for smart contracts as opposed to the account-based model, which is predominantly what the EVM, Ethereum Virtual Machine chains are using. So very interesting in that more chains are launching using a UTXO model for smart contracts. That's something that Cardano started using the EUTXO, which is also based on the UTXO model, the E being the extended part, which handles the smart contract functionality. So it's good to see more chains taking that route using the UTXO account model. And just looking at the differences between UTXO versus account-based model for smart contracts, the advantages and disadvantages and so on. So yeah, very interested in other chains that are using UTXO for smart contracts, because as I think especially for the potential for interoperability between UTXO based chains, because some of the things with interoperability between account-based chains, EVM account-based chains, it becomes very easy because they're all using the same sort of accounting model, right? So then when you want to use the UTXO addressing model and have interoperability, there's more work involved. Whereas that interoperability does exist, it's more complicated. It's not as straightforward as just implementing interoperability between EVM account-based chains. So potentially it could get easier, right, for UTXO based chains to form some sort of standard which creates better interoperability. And as in the DeFi space, the more interoperability, the more assets can move around between different chains and different platforms, potentially the more liquidity, cross-chain liquidity, etc., etc. So that's very interesting to see that sort of development happening in the space and where it might lead to in the future, because the tech space, it can change and things can develop all the time. So yeah, following that.
No, that's great. I'm actually a EMURGO backed Haskell and Plutus smart contract MOOC course dropout. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was in this MOOC course, and we basically mainly for information gathering and everything. I think one thing in particular that stuck out to me was how much harder it is to code like Plutus smart contracts and everything. And does it tie into maybe the challenges on why Cardano is a bit slower because of the fact that maybe like the development, the tooling isn't quite up to speed? Obviously, I think like Ethereum has a little bit of a head start in regards to being able to build out that tooling to streamline the process easier for Solidity developers versus like Haskell, Plutus smart contract developers.
Yeah, I think that there's often quite a bit of a misconception that people seem to think that Cardano's been around for 7 years with smart contracts, which isn't the case. Yes, Cardano's been around for some 7 years.
Yeah, something like that.
But smart contracts didn't come around until a bit later, right? So it started off with a basic chain with a wallet. So you can send transactions, you can store them. Then staking was introduced, so people could stake, and the whole sort of staking ecosystem grew. And then there was the smart contracts deployment, which I believe was, just having a look here, so September 2021. Right. And the first DApp didn't launch until 2022, January 2022. So there was obviously from when fair enough, there would have been smart contracts on the test nets before it went on to mainnet. It rolled out on the mainnet 2021. Within 3 months, the first DApp was there. More dApps started coming on there. More developers start developing the code. So it does take time for that to sort of transcend through the ecosystem for a larger developer pool to come about. And I think we may have touched on this before in our conversation. There are challenges developing in Plutus. Also, we had the Plutus smart contracts code upgraded, so there was a new version of Plutus smart contracts that came out, and this is one of the things that we did with Astarter from when we first launched as a project, which was in 21. We had our smart contracts out 6 months later, right, in the Plutus version, the first version of Plutus. So we had the launchpad out within 6 months of the project being announced, and we had that extensive testing going on with the community, etc., the beta testing. And then there was a hard fork which brought in benefits for the Plutus V2 version. So what we have on Cardano right now is a lot of the main dApps are still on Plutus V1, right? And they're not getting the benefits of the Plutus V2. At that time, we put out an article looking at some of the advantages of the Plutus V2 and what that meant for us as a project in terms of how we made that change to update our infrastructure and smart contract code to work with the Plutus V2. So that's what we did with ADEX. We actually started recoding and bringing this Plutus V2 code into play with ADEX. So we have now ADEX V2, which is Plutus V2. It's very efficient at handling transactions. So compared to the Plutus V2, there's a massive improvement in terms of scalability. We get a lot more into a block compared to some of those V1 chains, and that's a whole discussion in itself. So some great strides been made, and it seems like a long time, but really it's not. When you think it can take 3 months to 6 months to get a dApp out, right? And then code changes, so you've got to start refactoring everything, re-engineering everything, and there's not a huge developer pool, developer base, because of the challenges of this new coding standards, etc. But also some of the tooling on Cardano is now improved, so you can write smart contracts. It doesn't have to be native Haskell Plutus version smart contracts. It's now possible to use various different languages, including the Python and some others there. So there's more tooling becoming available, more developers are now becoming available. Things are starting to get a bit easier as certainly for Astarter, our internal developer team has come on leaps and bounds, and it is now looking to not only do if you look at the transactions, the size of transactions in terms of the load on the chain, Astarter is up there in the top position in how performant its Plutus V2 transactions are. We're now looking at having the enhanced concurrency, so that we can get as much as 25 transactions per block by enhancing concurrency, and we have a proposal for that to try and get some funding from the Catalyst community funding governance program on Cardano. So with leaps and bounds. I was actually quite surprised that there already wasn't something out there that had enhanced concurrency. So the fact that our team's now working on that, and that will bring us in a good place. It'll certainly mean that we will be getting the type of throughput on ADEX that we require. So that then we'll start seeing more liquidity come into the DEX, etc., and that will transcend through to the Launchpad and other smart contract products we're developing.
Yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely. I had a couple questions because I don't know if you're familiar with like back, I think it was late 2021 or early 2022. They ended up making this DeFi alliance in Cardano. And I don't know if A-Starter was part of that, but I was wondering like if you've heard anything in regards to the information. I thought the entire idea was to information share. So to sort of enhance the Plutus smart contracts capabilities and the concurrency issues. But I don't know, maybe you can speak to that a little bit more because I was quite confused with what was the purpose of the DeFi Alliance and what ended up coming about it, or is it discontinued or?
Yeah, we kind of we reached out to DeFi Alliance and they had an application, and I think we met with them as well at some point. But it wasn't clear what they were doing. It wasn't clear what how they were accepting applicants and so on, what their mission was. To me, anyway, it wasn't super clear. But I do know that there was, I believe they got together not long ago to develop some DeFi courses. So they were basically some educational courses on DeFi. So it wasn't so much about building the smart contracts, from what I could tell. One of the bugbears, I think, for projects is the fact that it is difficult to develop the smart contracts, specifically in Plutus. It's new technology. It's costly, okay, because there's it's kind of niche, and there's consultancies and so on which have high fees for helping develop the smart contracts, and that can have a huge disadvantage to developing in the ecosystem. Until that becomes more broadly and widely available, there's a larger developer pool, more talent out there that can develop that, or until that happens, it will remain the case that only the best developers will be able to sort of, those with the experience and skill sets will be able to develop. And of course, when other projects want to tap into that, it's going to be costly for them, right? So once those costs start to come down, once the development pool grows, and we're starting to, like I say, see more UTXO based chains come along using different technologies. I think the ML they're looking at using the WASM.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
And that's interesting. WASM, I believe, is something that was picked up and is integrated into most leading web browsers now as well. So there's advantages for that sort of technology, some sort of standard there as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that grows.
With the V2 for the Plutus, does that also have to do with the Plutus backend too, as well? Like in regards to the PAB, was the PAB like a huge player in regards to the V2? Because I know that was like a big, huge thing back in those times, like a couple of years ago. With when was that supposed to be integrated? That was part of the V2, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have in-depth knowledge into that. I didn't have hands-on with it, but from what I understand, the skills required to be able to work, not a lot of people could get it working. Whether it did work or not, or whether it was just that people couldn't understand it, I'm not sure. But certainly there was problems with that. I don't know what state it is, but I think other people basically turned to other solutions that perform the same sort of things that was supposed to perform, but the other solutions come out. I'm not sure if they actually carried on working, developing that actual back-end infrastructure.
Yeah,
I'd have to look that up and bring myself up to date with that. But yeah, from memory, there was some problems in using that.
And about Marlowe, because that's like the sort of dev stack, for Cardano. Has A-Starter started using that? I know I asked you that last time in a previous podcast, but I don't know if you guys have started maybe sort of using that, implementing that to maybe a little bit help automate processes in terms of development.
I don't believe we are. No, everything we're doing is in Plutus V2. So I think Marlowe sits on top of that.
Okay.
We're one of the things about working with Plutus is that it enables our project to actually work at the chain level. Okay, so there's not a layer between, if that makes sense.
Hey bro, I'm just trolling is something that will not just challenge your perspective, but also touch your heart and soul. It's a book that defies convention, blending art and literature into a thought-provoking masterpiece. A reflective piece of provocative art that tackles societal constructs from angles you've never considered. Hey bro, I'm just trolling delves into the very essence of our existence. It questions the technology that surrounds us, challenges our notions of beauty, stares unflinchingly into the eyes of death, and questions the boundaries of freedom. It scrutinized the educational system that molds our very future. This book is a journey, an exploration of shared human experience, and it's a work of art that refuses to be confined by tradition. It's a canvas painted with words, a melody of thought, and a testament to the power of creativity in a world dominated by algorithms and data. Visit moonboycapitalventures.com and get your hands on Hey Bro, I'm Just Trolling today. It's not just a book, it's a movement. Now let's jump back into the show.
What about the talent pool for Haskell and Plutus smart contract developers? Have you guys had any issues in regards to finding really skilled talent? Is EMURGO helping with that? Walk me through how that process has been for you guys in developing the project.
For our dev team, some of the main challenges there have been with the Plutus script, right? So there was that going from the Plutus, the first version, to the second version. So managing that with the back end and then having to handle concurrency and being able to get the performance out that we want from the code has been a challenge, okay? Because there's not been solutions there. We've had to develop our own solution from the ground up. So that has been challenging. But we've got there, we're getting the performance and we're looking to enhance transaction throughput. We've done tests on the test net and we've put the test results out there. So yeah, one of the things is that as a project, we don't, the developers team, we don't want to compromise on security. We want to make sure everything's robust and secure. So we want to leverage the best we can out of the technology, because that's the whole point of developing in Plutus from the ground up. We're actually communicating with the chain in the best possible way, leveraging all those security aspects of the Haskell code written from the ground up. So basically, developing robust Plutus smart contracts, okay, without using something that's a layer or two above to get that functionality. So that's created challenges. We've overcome those challenges. We were actually making great headwind with what we're developing. Smart contracts are looking great. The performance is great. I put out a chart recently that showed how our smart contracts were performing compared to others that are written in Plutus v2. Astarter was top, which was good by some way. I'll pull that chart up. And what was discouraging about that is that some of the main dApps, the main AMM platforms on Cardano are still using Plutus v1, and the difference was, the chain was getting to the point where the chain was becoming congested because a lot of transactions are going through on old smart contracts, and that a lot of that liquidity is tied to those smart contracts. So people aren't going to move because people want to trade where the liquidity are. So they're using the dApps where the liquidity is at, right? Unfortunately, that liquidity is at the old Plutus v1 smart contracts. So those projects have now got to upgrade, bring in their Plutus v2 so that the chain can perform. So we're waiting for that to happen. Some of them are supposed to be doing it this month. So we're getting towards the end of the month. We'll see. Maybe they'll move into March. We'll see. February.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you guys have had what, like, I think over 30,000 users using the it was a closed beta. Was it open beta?
We
With
had
8X?
closed. We had both closed and open.
Yeah. So you had over 30,000 users using it. So you got a lot of feedback from them too as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we did that on mainnet, right? So what we didn't do, we didn't launch the product and then invite everyone to come and use it. We deployed on mainnet in beta. We had the open beta test, so we could test the product under load, right? And that's important. Because although we can test it on the test nets, it's a different environment on the mainnet, right? The test nets are as close as they can be to the mainnet, but they're not the mainnet. So we did it on mainnet, and we've seen similar things with other projects that just recently a project launching on mainnet, and things didn't go as they'd expected through their testnet testing, and suddenly they're delaying their launch and everything's changed. We didn't do that. We had the beta on mainnet, which well done to the tech team for taking that strategy and actually beta testing it thoroughly with the community, bringing all that, getting all that feedback, being able to optimize it, and bring in UI enhancements, etc., and then get the smart contracts audited. So it's not like a rush to get it out there and and say, look, we've got it out, it's on mainnet, come and use it. Actually, yeah, we've got it on mainnet, we want to test it, want to make sure it's working. Let's not raise expectations until we've done thorough testing and audits. It comes back to, we don't want to compromise on security and usability, right? We want to make sure the product is usable, scalable, secure, all of those things.
Yeah,
bring liquidity in and so on.
Yeah, for sure. Like when you talk about botched launches, I mean, I heard EXO didn't do so well in regards to their launch. So I think it's good the way you guys are taking your approach to things. And I also think that, there's room to grab a lot of, the users, because I think right now the DEX functionality could be a little bit more optimal from what is currently in the current market in the Cardano ecosystem right now. And so, yeah, I think that you guys are primed to hopefully be able to bring the functionality that is needed into the DeFi space. And yeah, that's definitely the goal and what I hope for too as well. So I'm hoping to test you guys' mainnet launch, because that's supposed to be dropping when? Q3, Q4? I think I looked at your roadmap. I think it should be like Q3?
What we want to do, we've got ADEX V2 on mainnet now. You can use that. It's in beta. Okay, there's not liquidity there, all right, but you can go use it. You can get hands on. You can play with it, right? You can test drive it in beta. Okay, you can add liquidity to it, if you want to. You can create your own token, add your token liquidity pools to there. You can test it, and that's there. But what we want to do is we want to bring in the enhanced concurrency. So we've got that for the launch of ADEX V3, where we're hoping to reach a potential 25 plus transactions per block. Okay, so that's some enhancement over what's currently there. And that is in this quarter, Q1. We're looking to get that out. We're making great progress with that. So that milestone for this quarter, first quarter of 2024.
So 25 transactions per block is the maximum capacity that it would be able to handle in terms of transactional volume?
We're looking at 25 plus.
Okay. And is it scalable up to a couple thousand transactions per block, or like where's the scalability limit in regards to that, or can it get more optimized?
It can get more optimized, yeah. So we're looking at implementing what is called transaction chaining. Okay, will bring potentially reaching 25 transactions per block, which is similar to the BTC chain. Combining that with the current method, two-step transaction process, could take ADEX concurrency to even greater heights. So I've not got a number for there, but so we're looking at 25 plus transactions per block.
Could you,
for a base layer chain, that UTXO, that's good.
The capabilities of Hydra, right? Now, could you technically, Is there a way that you could open up a Hydra node and leverage that to increase the transactional capacity?
Isn't Hydra a second layer solution? It's an off-chain solution, right?
Yeah, but as another element for Astarter, could you technically open up a Hydra node, link it to then
Yeah,
Hydra to do off?
absolutely. There's all sorts of off-chain solutions we could implement, right, to increase that. There's a whole bunch, but it comes down to this, right? If you're doing small transactions, right, high frequency, maybe you would want that. But if you're doing high value transactions, you probably don't mind waiting a little bit for the extra security.
Yes.
Okay. So it's a lot to do with value. You know, if it's not high value, you can probably sacrifice security a little bit, right?
Yeah. The trade-offs.
Yeah, trade-offs.
Yeah.
If it's high value, you're gonna do your big trades on Bitcoin, right? You know, because you've got the security there. Okay.
Yeah.
So we leverage that UTXO model, bring the security.
Yeah.
We've got the security in place. We enhance that as much as we can so we can get as much of those high value transactions as possible. And 25 plus transactions per block, high value transactions, that's pretty good. If we then want to go in a high frequency to be more comparable, that will be in the future sort of off second layer, off chain scaling type solution, as you say, Hydra, other sort of methods that will come into play in the future. So
yeah. Have you thought about, because I know there's this new sort of implementation in tech stack called like the modular type of blockchains. Like, I don't know if you've seen like Celestia and things of this nature. Have you guys thought about as that being a potential interoperability solution? I know Midnight's going to be actually modular. So have you guys thought about that?
Absolutely. With, you know, I think this whole concept of, you know, where will ADEX go? So right now we're still looking at the layer one solution, right? That solid solution on layer one. Where we go in terms of modularity, in terms of having a parallel chain, even, right? If throughput and transaction size usage warrants it having its own sort of scale layer two scaling solution, then that would be on the table. You know, nothing's off the table, certainly.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's already DEXs that do that. There's already chains that are starting up purely with their own DEX functionality built in, right? So yeah, you know, in terms of modularity, I see a chain modularity as being something that's happening. We're seeing a lot of that with Avalanche, right? With their solution to parallelism, where they're looking at having chains running parallel, that each chain performing a specific task. So yeah, it's you know, I think the Midnight solutions working very much like the Polkadot system, right? Perhaps not bringing the security, trying to integrate the security so much, but integrating the technology in terms of having this whole sort of chains running in parallel sort of concept.
Do you think it's inevitable that most of the value that's being transferred on crypto is all going to have to move into layer 2, layer 3 type solutions?
The value, I think what we're seeing is that people, you know, how important is decentralization, you know, and why decentralization? Is it for security, or is it for some, you know, people's desire to have everything decentralized? You know, what's the reason for it? You know, why do we need decentralization? To me, most of that revolves around security, right? Because you're minimizing you're reducing elements of risk. Okay. Third party risk, etc. It's decentralized. It reduces the third parties. So, you know, it's all down to what, you know, what do we want? What are the trade-offs for it? And it seems that a lot of DeFi, you know, seems happy to trade off security for chains that perhaps aren't as decentralized as they could be, but still decentralized in a way. right? So it's important, I think, decentralization. I think the security is super important. I feel a lot more comfortable knowing that the wealth that you have, and it's all relative. What's valuable to one person might not be to somebody else. So, but the less risk you're exposed to, the better, right, for everybody. So the greater decentralization, I don't mind waiting a little bit. I'm not doing high frequency trading. If you want to run high frequency bots and so on and so forth, then yeah, you probably, why not have your own modular bot chain that can run those high frequency bots, and then at least we know that we can stay on the chains which have got actual users and trades on each side and stuff. So it's great. It's just great to see how it's all emerging and developing, right? How all the new sort of algorithms and concepts for finance are developing. I do think we are seeing a new financial layer being built, and there's so many aspects to it as well. It's really exciting to see it come together. And I think looking at what's happened with the ETFs and how traditional finance is now seeing that happening as well and wanting to be part of it. So it's not just about the ETFs for those guys, is it? It's understanding that there is this new financial layer being built, and to be part of it, you got to kind of work with Bitcoin in some form.
I actually wanted to ask you a bit about. It's a good segue to talk a little bit about the ETFs, because I wanted to ask you, what's your perspective on it in the long run, and how do you see it affecting the crypto market?
I think for me personally, I think the ETFs are great. I think anything that makes it more accessible, it makes Bitcoin more accessible, it gives more choice, is a good thing. I see choice as being super important. And if they want, if they want to create ETFs around it, and that creates a path for more people to experience and learn and understand Bitcoin, that's a good thing. What will the impact be in terms of whether the majority of traders that invest in ETFs are the sort of traders that might be shorting the market and so on and so forth? That requires some analytics, right? How many people, what are the users of ETF? What are the people that are buying those? Are they fund managers, predominantly fund managers? And how do fund managers operate? Are fund managers known for shorting markets? I don't know, but it's a different beast. It's not, I came from a tech background, not a financial background. So a lot of the stuff I've learned on finance has come through cryptocurrency, not through traditional finance and investments. If anything, I've learned more about finance and investments through cryptocurrency than I ever would. And that's simply because it's now integrated so much into technology through blockchain technology, right? So
yeah. Do you see a type of world in which we live in where TradeFi is kind of non-existent and everything just synergizes with crypto? Or do you think there's always going to be a room for TradeFi and there's also going to be crypto and they're going to work kind of in hybrid? Or how do you see the future of where things are going with crypto?
TradeFi, traditional finance, seems to be transitioning to more of a decentralized finance world. But for that to happen, decentralized finance has to be able to offer the same sort of throughput, right? It has to offer the same performance and the same usability that you expect from traditional finance platforms. So I think there's some way to go before we could see everything move towards DeFi. But yeah, there's TradeFi, DeFi hybrids. We're seeing those come out. People trying to get a bit of both and cover all angles. But I don't know. I just think the choice of having DeFi and pure DeFi products is the way forward. I think that there'll be more disappointments with TradeFi than there will be with DeFi in the long run, and we see that with regulated platforms where people buy into the security that regulation brings, where it almost as if you've got this stamp from a regulator, and you're checking all these boxes, then it must be great, though everything's safe. So I can give everything to you because you've got those stamps and trust that nothing will go wrong. But then something does go wrong, and there's a lot more value being compromised because of that, because people have trusted that and not really taking on board the risk. There's no ownership of that risk, right? So I think it's just healthier that people are aware of the risks and take ownership of it and understand how to get better security, and that comes from pure DeFi, right?
Yeah.
Because certainly when we look at the custodial and non-custodial type models, and that's when I say give everything to a custodian and expect that nothing's going to go wrong because they've got these stamps. Who was it we saw that with? Where they were placing adverts around New York, trust us, we're certified by, we're regulated by, and then they went under, and everyone, all these people that had invested hundreds of thousands into it suddenly realized that actually they couldn't be trusted, even though they were regulated or said they were.
Yeah, it can. I think part of the bottleneck the DeFi faces currently right now is the ease of use and onboarding process too, as well. I think it's where a lot of the bottlenecks are happening to get more and more users at an exponential rate. And I think if we can solve the issue of being able to make it seamless, because that's all the end user cares about. How seamless is it? How easy can I do it? Can I make it quick? I don't know. Like, I even thought about maybe potentially linking. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. You could probably combat it, but maybe linking your biometrics to the seed phrase just to make it easier to download a wallet and to not have to worry about the seed phrase because it's linked to your biometric. That could be a potential solution, but there needs to be an easier way to make the end user feel more safe, more secure, and make them feel warm when using the products, and not like panicking because they don't know where their value is because there's a wallet bug or something like that, and they don't really know how to check the Explorer, and the Explorer still look very, very new and more 1995, and they don't really look very, very user friendly and UX friendly.
Yeah, when you talk about usability, right? How easy it is to use things. I always think back to the internet, right, and email, and people that were struggling to be able to use the internet, to use the email, right? But now you look at it today, everyone's using a smartphone and using it and not really knowing, they don't even think about the technology, don't even think it's difficult. And that's everyone from your grandma onwards, right? Today is able to use an app, but there's still many people that will fall victim to various different exploits that are out there, and those might be phishing exploits. Those could even be telephone, right? People ringing you up on the telephone or send you an SMS message to trick you into going to some website that's going to fish for certain information. Okay, and what I'm getting to is the point that all technology has these. The telephone, we don't ban the telephone because people can ring you up, right? We don't say, okay, people can ring me up and trick me out of some money, so let's ban the telephone, right? Okay, people can send me an email that will take me to a link so let's ban the email. So what's going on with cryptocurrencies? Let's say with the a lot of the wallet type scams, where wallets can you use a DApp connector within your Chrome extension that gives authority to transfer funds out of someone's wallet. So you tricked into authorizing your wallet to be able to do that. And some people have been tricked by those and have lost wealth. So do we ban Chrome extensions, or do we just make them better and educate people better to be able to avoid those? With this technology, we've got more power to be able to prevent those things from happening than what we have the power to prevent people being tricked via the telephone. But the telephone's not going to be banned. The telephone's not being sort of, we're not getting all these horror stories from financial conduct authorities saying, don't use the telephone, it's dangerous. Don't use cryptocurrency, it's dangerous. They'll tell you that, but it's okay to use the telephone and answer that and get tricked out of your money, or read an SMS message that's going to give you a link to something else. So it's all down to education, usability and stuff. I think we agree on that, but this technology has the capabilities to prevent a lot of the things and minimize the risks that people are exposed to. So as they become known, there's now capabilities within the wallets to actually flag up smart contracts that aren't verified, right? To, hang on, this smart contract's requesting you give permission for it to withdraw all your funds and send all your tokens to somewhere else. That technology now exists, so potentially that's safer than a lot of things that we've currently had. You could be directed to a fake website, which is a traditional finance website. Invest your money, transfer money from your bank account to something that's fake. But if you're doing that through a non-custodial method, where the technology has actually warned you before you do it, that's potentially more secure. So potentially greater benefits through using this technology, with all the thought processes that got involved in making it so that it cannot be so easily gamed by the people that are out there to defraud and steal and scam people.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that Charles had spoken recently about a DApp store where I guess there would be some kind of decentralized voting mechanism to see, hey, to basically kind of verify if this DApp is good for the community or bad for the community. And I don't know how far along they are in development with that, but I did hear that was something that they were going to introduce at some point along the roadmap, so to help prevent scams and protect the end user. I don't know if you heard anything about that.
Yeah, I do seem to recall something about that. There's been a few like that, which are interesting, and I think the DApp stores, great concept. We see them within wallets, right, where the wallets will have sort of recommended dApps or their own DApp store. How you decentralize that's a challenge. That's a thing on its own, and some sort of verification. How do you decentralize the verification of those dApps, and the certification for them to go in? Great concept. It is. Are they looking at that in Lace, I believe?
Yeah, Lace
in the Lace wallet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you know any time when that's supposed to be coming out, the Lace wallet?
Well, the Lace wallet's out. We integrated it as it was released into Astarter ADEX. ADEX now has a whole bunch of wallets. If you go to astarter.io, load up ADEX, load up the DEX, decentralized exchange, Astarter, decentralized exchange, ADEX, and then go to Connect Wallet, you'll see a list of all the wallets. Lace is in there. We also recently added OKX wallet as well with our DApp connector, Chrome extension. We're looking to integrate with their mobile, various other mobile wallets as well in the future. So things get easier. I think, in terms of being able to use this stuff on mobile, I don't know if you use any DeFi on mobile at all, but
with Cosmos, I do some DeFi stuff with Cosmos on my mobile, but mainly I use my laptop for now, because, and it's kind of weird actually if you think about it, because there's more mobile users than laptop users. So you would assume that, there'd be way more people trying to develop the mobile side of things and the functionality. But actually, we did it in reverse, which is kind of
Yeah,
strange.
yeah,
Yeah, didn't make
yeah,
any sense to me.
yeah. It's nice to be able to do some stuff on your mobile while you're out, right? But
Hmm.
you're probably always gonna turn to your laptop for the high values, or do you become to trust your mobile more for those things, for high
No, I
value
use
transactions
high
as well?
value, high value. I use my laptop.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I wanted to ask you, because you said that the TVL, because I know I went to DeFi Llama and I saw the TVL with A-Star is quite high. I think they're in the top 4 or top 5, something
We're in
around
the
there.
top. We're in the top five, but we did enter the top four at the time of the ETF approvals, and that was interesting. So we just got we're at number 4 for a short space of time.
Yeah.
I think the stable coin that was above us had moved out.
How is how does the TVL, because how is it being, what is the metric behind it? When I look at, yeah, because it's not, you don't really, you're not doing like
Mm.
liquidity farming, or like what's the,
Well, I think we're doing it right. Okay. One of the things I look at some of the other projects and I think, why aren't they doing this?
yeah,
We're doing it right. What we did is, and we get people. It raises the question. People often say, but ADEX doesn't have that liquidity, and you're right. ADEX doesn't have that liquidity, and they're saying so. You're getting it from the meme tokens that you have on your DEX, which is Shelly and what's the other one? Shelly and
Byron?
Byron. Yeah, Shelly and
Yeah.
Byron. Uh, so. But no, they're not included, right? So there's X number of million Shelley and Byron TVL, but that's not included in what you see on DeFi Llama. They're excluded from that because they're yeah, test tokens, they're meme tokens, they're not nothing, right? They're
Yeah.
what was there for the beta testing. So they're not included in the TVL, they're excluded. You can see that code, you can see that they're excluded. Most of that TVL is coming through our launch products, which is basically value, ADA value that is staked within our launch products.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
When you go to DeFi Llama and see Astarter, there's a little drop down arrow. We're on one chain, but there's two products. One of them is Launchpad and one of them is DEX. The Launchpad has the majority of that liquidity. The DEX
Okay.
isn't recording much liquidity at all. We've not brought the liquidity onto the DEXs yet. That's
Yeah.
still to come. So our goal of achieving a top 3 position on DeFi Llama in 2024 is achievable once we start bringing in the liquidity, increasing liquidity on the DEX, and at the same time increasing liquidity on the launch pool. That will put us in a high position. We're already in the top 5.
Yeah. That's really, really cool. So you, a couple questions then. With the launch pad, so you have projects that are waiting to get launched already currently now on A Starter?
Yeah, so coming back to what we were saying in terms of the code, the Plutus V2 code, our launchpad was reading in Plutus the first version. Okay, we first wrote that six months after the project was first announced. We enhanced that as well to bring in some other functionality. We're now looking to re-engineer that in Plutus V2. Okay, and then we'll start bringing the projects on and have that. What I'd like to see, and I'm not saying this is what will happen, but what has always been the plan, and it's not been clear, but what we've always said is that the first project to launch on Launchpad will be Astarter. Okay, and that would make sense, right? But we've not been able to be firm on that because until market conditions, until we actually launch, depending when the launchpad launches, whether it will launch with the AA token or with ADA is yet to be seen, right? So there's a lot of moving parts there, which makes it very hard for us to say this is what it's going to be until we actually get really close to it's happening and we've got all those steps in place, all those moving parts in place, and then we can say, right, this is what it's going to be. Okay, so what I'd like to see is Astarter to be the first project that launches, so that there's a IDO, Astarter IDO, to be able to get the AA token, right? So that means that the launchpad will be working predominantly with ADA, and that's a good thing, right, for ADA, right? Because it brings value to ADA, because you can use your ADA, get some ADA, use that to get some AA tokens, participate in that IDO. Okay, so it creates a use case for the Cardano ecosystem in many respects.
Yeah,
brings value.
Sure.
Brings value to ADA. Okay, if you think about it as well, having a DEX where the DEX platform doesn't have its own token is a great use case for ADA as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'd like to see first, that Astarter is the first IDO on the Astarter launchpad, and the AA token will be out there. People will be able to get familiar with the projects, and at the same time, we could bring in another project at that point as well. So we could then start having more than one project doing an IDO on that platform, and then bring in another project. We have got projects lined up. We've been working with projects for a long time to bring them in, but nobody's wanted to launch while the market was in the condition where it was in a bear market. Market's picking up. I wouldn't say we're in the bull market, but it's a lot better than what it was, right? So
yeah, absolutely. Well, okay, so why would I be, as a user, be incentivized to then want to stake on the Astarter launch pad or launch pool? Is it that are they receiving rewards, or are they anticipating projects that are going to get launched on the launch pad? What's the incentivization?
Right. So the incentivization for the launch pad is that a lot of the projects that are coming through, there's an amount of due diligence done by Astarter project for one, so that you can have some faith in that those projects are of a quality, right?
Yeah.
For the AA token, why would you want to hold the AA token? Why would you need that? The AA token utility transcends into the launch pad in that a certain number of AA tokens would be required to be able to invest in certain projects, and the projects will be able to stipulate how many AA tokens is required to be able to invest in that project. So it brings in a tiered mechanism for the launchpad.
Yeah.
Another utility for the AA token, just get this out, is that we've also developed the merge staking protocol, and that works in such a way that the idea is that it incentivizes the use and come and try our products. Okay, so if you come in and you're holding the AA token, you're holding some ADA tokens, you've got those ADA tokens staked, you've got the AA token staked within the Astarter staking ecosystem, you'll generate more rewards based on those two things. So we call that merge staking because it involves two things. Those two things together, merge together, generate a virtual stake which earns AA rewards on top of whatever rewards you're getting from where those two assets are staked.
Got it. Okay, it's a little bit more clear now as to why. Okay. My next question is, because I know you guys are working with OneChain, and so I wanted to know, how do you guys plan to implement OneChain into Astarter? Is it just the USDC aspect of it, being able to bridge over liquidity into Astarter ecosystem to add as a stabilizer for like the volatility swings within the market for the assets, or what else is the reason why you guys partner with one chain, or is there something else that I'm missing outside of the USDC aspect of the liquidity?
Yeah, as a bridge, OneChain's an excellent bridge, right? They've got
Yes.
a great reputation. They've got solid infrastructure. They've got they've been around a long while. They've got links with many chains. They've got many assets that go across. They're bringing USDC, USDT, Bitcoin, Ethereum onto the Cardano chain. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that brings that opportunity for those top tier assets to be available through ADEX. Okay. So we can start creating liquidity on chain, incentives for liquidity for those top tier assets on Cardano. Okay, using what is a very decentralized, very robust bridge. Okay, it's a third party bridge, it's not our own bridge. So that's what they do, that's what they specialize in. So those assets in themselves are very much backed by the state, the way the bridge works, in that the nodes, I believe, hold they have to stake a certain amount of tokens, which collateralizes in many respects the bridge tokens, right? So if there was some sort of compromise, there's some sort of mechanism in place there that can help reduce the impact of that. So all of those things, looking at all of those things, the partnerships that they have, etc., I think those assets would be great to see on Astarter. And if we can create incentives and be, for those assets to come into the ecosystem, and based on what we do, based on how well those assets perform, how much trust is put into those, and that's an awful word to use, trust, right? But if you are bridging assets, there is an amount of trust that bridge is still going to be available to move those assets. Then I think that's a good thing for Cardano. And we may have discussed this before, that they're a CC Circle cross-chain protocol partner. So that CCP, cross-chain partner, a CCTP or something like that. It is there. So they're one of their partners, and they so if they can bring, essentially, my understanding of what that means is that where the bridged asset is minted on Cardano, if Circle was to mint a USDC themselves on Cardano, then the bridged asset would be the official USDC, right?
Got it.
Whereas at the moment it's the bridged asset. If Circle was to deploy on Cardano, the bridged asset would be the official Circle USDC. So it's a great inroad, right? If the Cardano community can show that there's demand for USDC, the bridged one-chain USDC, that could potentially lead to, if Circle sees the demand is there, that could lead to them actually wanting to deploy on Cardano an official version. But we've got to prove that the demand exists, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
They're not just going to say, hey, let's all create this demand. And what's the incentive for Circle to do that, right? It's up to the Cardano community to show that demand exists. But at the same time, don't we want to see more choice available in the stablecoin market, right? Don't we want to see these new stable coins come through and see fruition from those guys? Yes, we do, of course. It's not all USDC or USDT. It needs to be more decentralized, it needs to be more choice, right? So that's it's not going to, it's not going to be our primary focus. It's going to be a focus among other focus. So we already announced a partnership some time ago with Coty to bring Jed There's the IUSD stablecoin, although there's some controversy about how that's performing on Cardano. So, and there's USDM coming, so there's a USDA that EMURGO was postponed, delayed for whatever reason. So, there's more than one stable coin, but having solid stable coins, I think that matters, right? Because you want to know that there's liquidity for the stable coin that you're holding, because that's the point of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to ask you too as well about, because I saw on the roadmap that you guys are looking into doing some centralized exchange listings, and I just want to know, I know it's kind of a little bit to ask, but are they major exchanges? Can you at least like give a little bit of like what you guys are thinking in regards to that? Is you going to the smaller exchanges first? Is it major exchange listings? I know obviously you can't tell me who you're talking to and all that kind of stuff, but if you could give me just a little bit of information, it would be great.
We would like to be listed as, it comes down to choice. We would like to make as much choice available for as many users as possible. So that would mean both large, small exchanges, major exchanges, up and coming exchanges, many decentralized exchanges and other platforms, as many partnerships, as many places as that token can be available, the better, right? For the users. So there's choice available.
Is EMURGO helping with that?
It's something, we liaise regularly with EMURGO. Okay. So they advise, they guide, they help, we liaise. But as a team, we work closely with all our partners. We have meetings with exchanges, with market makers. We get to events, and that's where you meet a lot of these people. In person contacts are always the best. It's difficult, we have a lot of exchanges reaching out to us all the while, and it's to be able to look into them all and to be able to give them all the attention perhaps they deserve is difficult, right? Because there's only so much resource you can devote to certain areas. Okay, so you can't focus on everything. We have to prioritize and think, look, let's get these steps done and completed first. So yeah, being partnered with EMURGO, being backed by EMURGO helps. So EMURGO does help us tremendously. It helps.
Which is great.
It helps with negotiations with the major exchanges, without a doubt.
That's amazing.
It makes the project, it gives the project credibility, right? To be backed by one of the founding entities of the Cardano chain, and the work that they do in the ecosystem. A lot of people I don't think a lot of people quite understand the amount of work the founding entities do in terms of feeding into the community is great, and you don't see that on a lot of other chains, right? You can see a lot of the founding entities working for themselves as opposed to the community. The founding entities on Cardano do seem to include the community a lot, and that whole sort of governance thing that's coming, they're making some great strides in that area. And it's very challenging. It's very difficult trying to balance all of those things and keep everybody sort of happy with the way it's going out. And there's never going to be everybody. Everybody's not always going to be happy, right? There's going to be people that don't like the way things are done, but that doesn't mean that if they stick with it, it won't eventually become how they would like. It's time, patience, and perseverance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And consistency, and that's one of the things with it that we're seeing is consistently moving in the direction. So if we go back to what we started this conversation with, this interview with, Cardano launched as a basic chain with transaction functionality and a wallet. It then brought in the staking staking for functionality, right? So you're able to stake. The stake pool community grew. There was the smart contracts came about. Now it's moving into governance. It's consistently evolving, right, to get where it is. And while all that's going along, the market's doing its things, right? On that roller coaster. So people's emotions are going, oh, I love Cardano. It's great. It's up there at the top of the roller coaster. Then it hits the bottom, and there's a lot of like, why aren't they doing this? Why is it like this? Well, token price shouldn't be driving emotions. What's happening, the development, where it potentially will be in the future, is more interesting. Looking at this, the development that's happening now with UTXO. If we think of what Cardano is doing with EUTXO, and now see how other chains, more UTXO based smart contract chains are coming around. Isn't that great? Isn't that kind of leading innovation? So that creates more choice. We've now got account-based chains, smart contracts, UTXO-based smart contracts. These new technologies, they can, they can work together. We can all win at this. It's not a one winner sort of game. That's the whole point of decentralization. It's the whole point of Web3. It's that win-win scenario. So it's great to be in this space. It's great, the products that Astarter is creating, trying to create a robust, secure, base-led, decentralized exchange that leverages the full potential of Plutus V2 to bring performant smart contracts, automated market makers, decentralized exchange, and aspirations for a order book based decentralized exchange as well. Okay. A lot of great developments. The Launchpad, the lending and borrowing platform, the tech service, Oracle integration, so much development to come. And we're getting there. We've got the merge staking protocol to come. People are already accumulating the AA token, be it through staking to the Astarter stake pool AA1. So that gives choice. There's more ways to get an allocation of the AA token than just being able to buy into let's say, a private sale or a public IDO, right? You can actually use your current assets, your ADA that you're holding, stake it to AA1, accumulate some AA token. It might not be a great amount of AA token, but it will enable you to then participate in the merge staking, for example, or some of those IDOs on the Launchpad to try the Astarter ecosystem. And get rewarded for doing so, because that's a big part of Web3, that incentive alignment. So that's what we're trying to do: align incentives, make it a win-win scenario for everyone, and at the same time leverage the best out of the technology to make it robust and secure for participants, all network participants, from users, investors to partners.
JC, man, I appreciate your time. I think we can close it off there. Where can people find Astarter and you on the internet?
Astarter, you can find Astarter at astarter.io. You can find myself on X, DeFi Hub Space, at DeFi Hub Space, Astarter at Astarter DeFi Hub.
Awesome. Any closing thoughts for us before we go?
Do follow Astarter. Do look into getting some ADA, staking your ADA to Astarter AA1. We've got a great campaign at the moment. Any new delegators that are staking to Astarter AA1 and earn some ADA plus the Astarter AA token as a reward, which can be achieved over 5 days, one epoch, would be able to get hold of a $20 welcome aboard prize. Okay, so on top of what you stake, stake a minimum of 1,000 ADA to get hold of that. Stake over 1,500 ADA over 5 epochs, there's a prize pool for that. And for existing delegators, we've also got some incentive and prize pools as well. So that's a current campaign. We're always running campaigns for community to incentivize people. And this is why our socials, we've been doing this since the get-go. We put a lot of effort into campaigns to try and keep, so there's something for people to participate in. And this is why our socials have grown to the number of followers that they have. So we're taking this community first approach. Great to have some more users come on board, try our applications. That's my closing thoughts.
I appreciate you, JC, man. We'll do this again. This concludes another great episode of the Mooncast, man, and peace.